Hello, I'm Jie Zhao. This is the presentation of our paper Optimizing the Memory Hierarchy by Compositing Automatic Transformations on Computations and Data. The presentation is composed of the following content. First, let's start with the introduction. The memory hierarchy on modern architectures are prevalent on modern architectures like CPUs and GPUs. It provides the programmer the illusion of unlimited fast-state memories, but it also complicated the programming issue. While the programming issue can be partially addressed by optimizing compiler by means of different loop transformations, some loop transformations like tiling and fusion usually interfere with each other. The Polyhedral model is well known for its ability to compose different kinds of loop transformations. So in this paper, we intend to address the problem using polyhedral compilation techniques. So what is the polyhedral model? The polyhedral model represents a program using iteration domains, access relations, dependencies, and schedules. For the code shown on the page, that was extracted from the deep neural network examples. The polyhedral model represents its iteration domain using an integer site. It can also compute its read and read access relations using affine maps. So, the polyhedral model can also compute dependence relations for the program using read and write access relations. In addition, the polyhedral model represents the execution order of programs using schedules. So the original schedules can be written as the form of affine maps. Using the original schedule and the dependence, the polyhedral scheduling algorithm can compute a new schedule that considers better parallelism and locality. In addition, the polyhedral scheduling algorithm also automates different fusion strategies. For example, it groups the S0 statement into the first group and all the remaining three statements into the second group. And the polyhedral model can generate tiled code when targeting CPUs and add two OpenMP pragmas before each loop nest. It can also generate CUDA code when targeting GPU architectures, and here is the relation between loop dimensions and GPU hardware. So the question is whether we can fuse all statements into a single kernel, because we find that the polyhedral model defines a particular order on loop fusion and tiling, i.e. it first applies fusion and then tiling. Can we reorder the sequence of loop fusion and tiling to exploit more optimization opportunities? After a deep investigation, we find that it was due to the conflict in the data space. Let us first construct a two-dimensional computation space for each fusion group. We use quantity-adjacent space to refer to the first group and the reduction space the second. One can also construct a data space of tensor A that is written by S0 and read by S2. So the polyhedral model can then apply loop tiling individually to each computation space. We look at the red tiles of the two computation spaces. The first red tile read to 4 points of the data tile of the data space, but the second red tile requires 16 points from the data space, so there exists a conflict in the data space of tensor A. We take another way by first applying loop tiling only to the reduction space, and then this technique can tighten the tile size space and thus reduce compilation time. One can infer the data tile of tensor A according to the read access relations between S2 and the tensor A. And still, one can infer the tile shapes of the quantization space using the reverse of the red access relation between S0 and the tensor A. So this was not possible in existing work. In summary, our tiling algorithm can be summarized using the following steps. First, it computes a tiling schedule for a leveled computation space, and then it computes the data tiles required by each tile of a leveled computation space. It finally determines the tile shape of an intermediate computation space using the reverse of access relations. This tiling algorithm can construct arbitrary tile shapes, and it can be used to handle more general cases. This algorithm can generate a tiling schedule for the reduction space and an extension schedule for the quantization space for the example shown in the presentation. To generate code, the Polyhedral model uses a tree structure to represent the schedule of the program. For the original schedule, the tree structure looked like this. For the new schedule, the Polyhedral model can generate a tree structure as shown at the bottom of the page. So given a schedule tree, it provides a rich set of different schedule nodes. A domain node is used to represent the iteration domain of the program. Bound nodes are representing different loop dimensions. A filter node is the root of a subtree, and it uses a sequence or a set node to express a given or arbitrary order of its children. A schedule tree can also provide some convenient node types. It can use a mark node to implement merging between loop dimensions and GPU hardware. We can also use extension nodes to facilitate post-tiling fusions. So given a schedule tree representation like this, the polyhedral model can apply loop tiling by modifying the band node of the second subtree, as shown here. So this band node has to be split into two parts. The first one represents the tile dimension, and the second one represents the point dimension. As we intend to implement post-tiling fusion, one has to introduce a sequence node between the tile dimension using a sequence node. The sequence node is used to express the given order of S0 and with its siblings S1, S2, and 3. Because S0 was not scheduled by the original subtree of the second group, so one also has to introduce an extension node that use extension schedule obtained by algorithm 1. At this time, S0 has been scheduled twice by this schedule tree, so the last step is to tell the code generator to skip the generation of the original subtree of S0. So this schedule tree can then be fed to a code generator. The post-tiling fusion algorithm first tells a leveled computation space using the tiling schedule obtained by the tiling algorithm. It then integrates extension schedules into the schedule tree representation. Finally, it indicates the absence of original subtree of the fused computation spaces. This algorithm also does not resort to aggressive fusion heuristic in existing optimizers. It neither loses the parallelism of the program, guaranteeing the high performance of the generated code. For the example shown in the presentation, this algorithm returns a fusion strategy that fuses all the statements into a single kernel without hampering the parallelism. To generalize the approach, we have to handle the same that an operation OP0 is used by both OP1 and OP2. We use OP0 prime to represent the subset of OP0 that was used by OP1 and OP0 double prime that used by OP2. When these two subsets do not intersect with each other, they can be fused safely to their uses respectively without introducing redundant computations. Otherwise, the fusion should be prevented. Note that this strategy can also implement dead code elimination in some extreme cases. And finally, one can feed this schedule tree representation to the code generator of a polyhedral compiler. We implement our approach in PPCG, an open source polyhedral compiler, to generate code for CPUs and GPUs. And the CPU code generated by our approach is shown on the right of the slides. One can also map the whole loop nest onto a GPU device. Note that all statements have been integrated into a single loop nest without hampering the parallelism or tellability of the program. We also implement our approach in the AKG project, a wrapper of TVM compiler. It can generate code for an AI accelerator, i.e., Huawei assign 19 chips, of which the architecture is shown on the top of the slides. As our purpose is to exploit memory hierarchy, aggressive memory optimizations are fully considered by allowing sketchpad allocation on CPUs and proposing a software-controlled memory management on GPUs. The automatic memory promotion between different hierarchy buffers on assigned 19 chips is also implemented in the AKG project. Finally, we present the results of our approach. This is the setup and the methodology of the experiment. Please refer to our paper for more details. We first present the performance of the Polyimage benchmarks. The readers can find that our approach can provide 20% and 33% improvement over Polyimage and highlight when targeting CPUs. Polyimage is the state-of-the-art polyhedral code generator for image processing pipelines that constitute the Polyimage benchmarks, and highlight uses manual schedule written by experts to generate code on CPUs. And this is the result on GPUs. Our approach outperforms different fusion heuristics of PPCG and provides a mean improvement of 17% over Haddad. Note that PPCG does not use the approach proposed in this presentation. In addition, our approach can also reduce the compilation time. We also show the performance of the ResNet 50 workload on the AI accelerator. The network is trained with the requirement of no less than 76% validation accuracy. The tile sizes are specified by experts in the DSL, and we did not use the auto-tuner of the framework. One can find that our approach can bring about 16% improvement for the entire workload, and the compilation time that use our approach can be reduced over that version that does not use our approach. The readers should refer to our paper for more results on other benchmarks that we did not mention in the presentation. Finally, we conclude our presentation from the following aspect. This paper presents a tiling algorithm that can construct arbitrary tile shapes. Second, our approach can model the composition of tiling and fusion without trade-offs between parallelism, locality, and recomputation. In the third place, our approach can reduce compilation time without restricting special cases or relaxing schedule constraints. In the experiment, we show an in-depth performance comparison with the state-of-the-art on different architectures like CPU and GPUs. In particular, an AI accelerator has also been taken into consideration. That's all. Thank you.